West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We are still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Hey, what do you say, friends? It's good to see you today. Here we are on a big Monday, January 11. Hope you had a good weekend. Ready to dive into the big news of the day. Thank you so much for being with us here on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. And remember, it's a two-way street here on the Bill Press Show. So we want to hear from you about what all these issues mean to you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Or you can just send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Okay, off we go. Yes, it is the day before the State of the Union, and of course, speculation all over Washington, as there is every year, about what the president might say in the State of the Union. We're told by the White House that given that this is his last State of the Union, there will be no laundry list of issues that he wants Congress to act on, as the president normally does, but more a thematic speech about what the State of the Union should be. We do know that the First Lady has announced those who will join her in her box at the State of the Union. There will be one chair left empty to commemorate and to remember the victims of gun violence in this country. Meanwhile, the candidates for 2016 are on the road in Iowa and New Hampshire. New polls suggest that Iowa is a toss-up between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, with Ted Cruz in a slight lead over Donald Trump. New Hampshire, Donald Trump is running away with it among Republicans, and Bernie Sanders with a big lead over Hillary Clinton. And the journalistic coup for 2016 might go to Sean Penn, who scored an interview with El Chapo in the jungles of Mexico, but may have given his hiding place away. A couple of days later, El Chapo was recaptured. As you know, may be extradited to the United States. Lots to talk about. Don't forget, again, that toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS. Look forward to hearing from you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And the 2016 Pulitzer Prize for Journalism goes to Sean Penn. God, I didn't know he was a journalist. He certainly got a great get in El Chapo. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we are, Monday, January 11. Great to see you. This is the Bill Press Show. We are live we're live all over the country, coming to you from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio in Capitol Hill in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, and reaching out to you on your local progressive talk radio station, where we start your day the progressive way every day of the week for 3 hours. And we're here with you, of course, on those two great radio apps, so you can follow us even if you don't have a progressive radio station near you. Tune in or iHeartRadio. They're free. Download them, use them, follow us on the radio wherever you go. We're also here with you on television on Free Speech TV. You got a satellite dish, you find us on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And, of course, on your electronic device, there we are still on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Hope you had a good weekend, ready to dive into the news of the week. And this weekend in Washington, D.C., taken up by two big events, Powerball and that great big football game in the playoffs. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Making it in this morning. Hello, hello.
Here we go.
Indeed. Ray Rogers on the job to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and a very broken-hearted Cyprian Bolding on the job.
Oh, man.
He got over it. He'll get over it. He's
all
not over it yet.
He'll
yes.
be all right.
But the final call in that unnamed Washington football team yesterday up against the Packers in the playoff.
One knee and that'll do it. Disappointing end of the season for the Redskins here. Playoff action at FedEx Field, and the Skins fall to Green Bay 35-18. And the Redskins season is over.
I mean, I got to say,
if they had changed their name, they would have won.
That's the thing. I got to say, I mean, the idea that this was a disappointing season for them, I think is a stretch, because most people expected them to go, win like maybe 3 games, maybe 4 games.
I was amazed they made the playoffs.
And they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, they're still not a really good team, but, the fact they made it to the playoffs is something.
But, I want you to know on a different issue that this little piece of slip of paper is the only reason I'm here today. This is my Powerball.
You
ready to quit tomorrow?
I would not be here today if this ticket had been a little bit. I didn't get one freaking number of the whole thing. But nobody did.
No.
I mean, some people got a few numbers, maybe, but nobody won. I decided this time I was going to buy 1 ticket. Last time I did 3, and I figured I have as much of a chance with 1 ticket as with 3. Don't you think? I mean, really?
Yeah, hey.
Ray said she won $4.
Hey, congratulations.
All right.
So you doubled your money.
Hit the Powerball twice.
Yeah.
Says.
Wow.
I once got $5, and that's what's kept me going. And I've spent a lot more than that.
That was your hook, huh?
Yeah. At any rate, nobody won again. They changed the calculations.
Uh-oh.
They said to make it more fair. This Powerball has been up since November. I wrote it down. November 4.
Really?
It started at $40 million on November 4.
A measly
Yeah,
a paltry
easily.
$40 million.
I wouldn't have played then.
No, why would you? It's
But
not worth
it
anybody's
goes
time.
on, and so it's gone, I think, like 20 times, and nobody has won. And now, the next time, Saturday or Wednesday, it'll be one. But they say
Right now,
1.3 billion. It'll be more than that.
Yeah.
It'll be higher than that. So, I'll get one more ticket. Maybe I'll see you Thursday morning.
there you go. Say farewell.
Oh, I'll tell you. So in addition to Powerball, we went out to see really beautiful movie Saturday night, Carol.
Yeah, I haven't
Kate
seen
Blanchett
that yet.
and this Rooney Mara.
She's
God,
great.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Both of them are. I mean, incredible. And I knew Kate Blanchett. Just saw her recently in that In Truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where she was also phenomenal. But it's a beautiful, beautiful movie, powerful story, very, very well done. And we'll see what happens to it. Lots going on today. Elias Ithquith from Salon will join us a little bit later in this hour, as he does every Monday. Reporters in from the Daily Beast and Washington Post, and a couple of representatives from American Federation of Teachers in public employee unions on the line today at the Supreme Court. We'll find out all about that case that could be very damaging for public employee unions. All of our good friends at AFT and NEA and SEIU and AFSCME, among others. We'll find out all about that as well. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We start out with a very sad note. We are waking up to terrible news. David Bowie has passed away at the age of 69. He had cancer, and his son, Duncan Jones, the director, confirmed the news and put out a statement on social media accounts. Bowie has been fighting cancer for the last 18 months. He just celebrated his 69th birthday. Very, very, very sad news that we're waking up to. He died early this morning.
Yeah,
it's the first thing I saw when I woke up. It's terrible. Terrible. Going to the NFL, we have a couple of scores from the weekend. The Chiefs were taking on the Texans. That was a blowout game. They won that game 30-0. These are the playoffs, so they're moving on.
Yeah.
The Seahawks and the Vikings. Boy, oh boy, I got to tell you. So here's the deal. The Vikings normally play inside of a domed stadium, right? It's got a dome on it, but it's under construction. So they're playing outside at the University of Minnesota's field. The temperature was -9 degrees when they played this game. With the wind chill, -25. Cameramen who were filming the game, they had to take the batteries out and hold them by a fire to warm them up because they were freezing over. And it was just a total mess. The Vikings have this giant horn that sort of blows fire out. They brought it outside, it cracked. Cracked in 3 pieces because it was just so damn cold. There's video of a guy who's holding a beer up and sort of dumping it into his mouth, but it's so cold outside it turns to slush just because he's outside. Anyway, the Vikings.
I saw some of that on the tube, and I mean, just the shots of the crowd, all you saw was the steam from their mouth.
Yeah,
right.
It was so cold, so cold. The bad news for the Vikings is they lost that game 10-9. They had a chance to win it on a last-minute field goal, which they missed, probably because it was so damn cold outside. Also, the Steelers snuck a win away from the Bengals of Cincinnati. 18-16 is the final score. And, of course, we mentioned that the Washington football team lost to the Packers. So
The Steelers game, I think, was the best finish for me for the weekend. I mean, it was a terrible finish. Cincinnati blew it because they had this awful hit on the Steelers at the end.
Yeah.
Huge penalty yards, and the Steelers...
It was a disgusting end to a game, all around. The game was just kind of gross at the end. But, yeah, the Steelers survived. And so, it's starting to get cold outside, but, I mentioned last week, we broke a record. We've gone the farthest into winter in Washington, D.C. that we've ever gone without snow.
Yeah.
We've always had snow by this point, but we haven't had any yet because it's, frankly, it's kind of warm outside. But here's the problem. The Ontario Science Center put out a new study that says that the squirrels are getting fatter because normally they go into hibernation. They gather up all their food because there's no food in the winter because it's so damn cold. But frankly, it's not that cold out. In fact, it was 55 degrees here in D.C. yesterday, and we're not alone. So squirrels are getting fat. They're getting too fat because they've got.
Are you trying to tell me they're going to take over, Peter?
The squirrels are taking over.
Squirrels are taking over.
The squirrels are taking over. This is your wake-up call.
Let's
Stay
see
woke.
Donald Trump deal with that.
Stay woke.
They've taken over our yard. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn
They got no.
squirrels.
I mean, why would they go hide in a hibernation?
All right. Hey, on the political front, big news in Iowa and New Hampshire, and a big new issue that Republicans are, at least Donald Trump, trying to run on against Hillary. I want to talk about them both here to start off today. First of all, let's just take a look at the latest. This is the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, which is always assumed to be one of the more accurate polls that take a look at likely voters, which is most important. These are not the big national polls that just say, basically, have you heard from these people? These are people, the question is, not only do you know about them, are you likely, do you have plans to go out and vote in the caucuses or to vote in the primary in the case of New Hampshire? Very, very interesting. In Iowa, let's start there. Among Republicans, Ted Cruz, with a 4-point lead over Donald Trump, still could go either way, 28-24. But on the Democratic side, very interesting, Hillary, who started out with like a 50-point lead over Bernie Sanders in Iowa, Hillary, who has a lot more money to spend and has spent a lot more money and has a much bigger ground operation in Iowa than Bernie Sanders, is holding to a very slim lead, 48-45 over Bernie Sanders in Iowa, which basically, pardon me, is a statistical tie. And we know that Bernie has recently hired a lot more people in Iowa, has really beefed up his ground operation. If that continues, Bernie could walk off with a win in Iowa. And in New Hampshire, it's also very interesting. In New Hampshire, among Republicans, Donald Trump has a runaway lead of 30 to number 2, Marco Rubio in New Hampshire, of 14. That's where Rubio's really been focusing his attention. But still, Donald Trump, a 16-point lead in New Hampshire. Chris Christie, by the way, who has also been focusing on New Hampshire, it's worked for him. He's got 12, even over Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is 11, so Chris Christie in third place in New Hampshire. But it looks like that is going to be Donald Trump's state. It also looks like it could very well be Bernie Sanders' win. The Bernie Sanders with a 4-point lead over Hillary in New Hampshire, 50-46, which again is basically a statistical tie. But you know, to me, these numbers show one thing really, that nobody knows what's going to happen today in Iowa or New Hampshire. It could go either way. I mean, yeah, you know some things. Rick Santorum's not going to win. Ben Carson's not even going to show, right?
No.
Notice we're not talking about Ben Carson anymore. But when it comes to the top, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, who knows? And when it comes to Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton, who knows? And that raises a big question. If Bernie wins both Iowa and New Hampshire, could he go all the way? 866-55-PRESS. Meanwhile, on the second political news of the day, it is getting ugly. You knew it was going to happen. You knew they were going to use this card. Donald Trump, who used the race card against Ted Cruz, the citizenship card, the birther card against Ted Cruz last week. Now he is using the, what do we call it? The sexual impropriety card?
Yeah.
The morality card, if you will, against Hillary, not for anything she did, but he's dredging up again all of Bill's past history and saying this is an issue against Hillary. And Donald Trump says it's fair game for, he told Chuck Todd this on Meet the Press yesterday, it's fair game. Anybody's life is fair game in politics.
People are going to bring up yours.
It's okay.
I mean, your first divorce was ugly.
Number one, it's fine.
All over the tabloids.
You know what? I wasn't the president of the United States, and I wasn't dealing in the Oval Office, all right? A big difference. I wasn't the president. And my first wife thinks I'm great, and my second wife, and I have a great marriage. I mean, I have a great marriage. So, I mean, it's fine. I'm not saying don't bring anything up with me, but when she says that, I had to bring it up. And by the way, they've become very
Yeah.
unresponsive since then.
Yeah, I had to bring it up. I had to bring up Monica Lewinsky. I had to bring up all those Jennifer Flowers and all the rest. I just had to do it. And that third woman is has endorsed Trump. I'll get it.
I forget.
Yeah, right. At any rate, so Trump is saying that Bill's infidelities, the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, that should be an issue against Hillary Clinton. Hillary says, let him try.
If he wants to engage in personal attacks from the past, that's his prerogative, so be it. It's been fair game going back to the Republicans for some years. They can do it again if they want to. That can be their choice as to how to run in this campaign. Didn't work before, it won't work again. They can say whatever they want, more power to them.
Yeah, so my question to you is it fair game? Is Bill's past history, sexual history, fair game against Hillary? Is it fair game, and will it work? I got to tell you something. I think they are crazy to go down this path. I mean, you don't realize. It's 20 years ago, people. 20 years ago. New voters today, people are voting for the first time today, right? They weren't even born when this happened.
Right.
Right?
This is so old.
Yeah.
This is so old. And it's not really like a winning issue for people who want to fight it, right? Like, it's over and done with, and the Clintons have won it. Hillary Clinton has gone on to have a very successful career after this. Bill Clinton remains maybe one of the most popular politicians of all time.
I think he is one of the most popular people on the planet today, right? You got the Pope and Bill Clinton.
Right.
Yeah. And remember, Bill Clinton was reelected after the scandal, right? Reelected. Al Gore would have been elected if it weren't that he distanced himself from Bill Clinton. So he sort of played this game, and it didn't work for him. And Republicans have used this like in every election. They used it against Hillary in the Senate for reelection in the Senate. It didn't work. They use it all the time. We've been number one. I believe it's so old. It's not going to work. We've been over and done it. And number two, it's him. It's not her. It's something that he did. It's not something that she did. You tell me. Will it work? Is it fair game? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here on this Monday, The Bill Press Show.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. Their police are more likely to be in their communities, the police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
She's married to an abuser. That quote unquote is what Donald Trump is now saying. By the way, as if he is the paragon of marital fidelity, right? And the ideal perfect husband to put up there, the role model for the perfect husband. But question is will it work? Is it fair game to visit the sins of the husband on the wife when she's running for office? Ted, out in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hello, Ted. What do you think?
Thank you for taking my call. Well, my wife pointed out last night that if this has any effect at all, it probably will increase the gender gap, because women will look at this and see how Hillary dealt with, as you said, being the abused party in the relationship, and say, wow, and he's attacking her? It seems like it will help the gap get even larger. That was only my point, and I hope what you think of that.
No, I think it's a good point, Ted. I absolutely think if that the reaction of women is going to be, how dare he attack her and hold her responsible for what her husband did. Plus, I think when people look at what her husband did, they're going to say it was consensual sex. We dealt with it 20 years ago, and so BFD. But still, I think you're right. I think it will hurt, increase the gender
is
gap.
The
More
Bill
calls
Press
coming up.
Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket. and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Hey, here we go now. 34 minutes after the hour. Happy Monday, January 11. Yep, getting ugly out there. Donald Trump saying Bill Clinton is fair game. If he's campaigning for Hillary, then he's part of the process. And one issue we can raise against her is his sexual infidelities and the whole Monica Lewinsky thing back to 1996. Really? We're going to go back 20 years ago. Hold the sins of the husband against his wife. By the way, if she had divorce bill, of course, then that would be then they'd be using that against her. It's sort of kind of a no-win. Love to know what you think. 866-55-PRESS. I really think, A, it is too long ago. America has dealt with this over and over again. We buried it. Nobody wants to dredge it up again. And number two, again, whatever you think about it, Bill Clinton has moved on. I think the world has moved on. But whatever happened is something that happened between him and Monica Lewinsky, or Juanita Broderick is what I'm trying to think of, or whomever. It was not Hillary. She was not the enabler. She was not involved. She was wronged at the time. So why blame her for being wronged by her husband? I still don't get. And I guess the third thing is, they've tried this over and over and over again, and it has never worked against Hillary before, and it's not going to work against her now.
It's like if there was some new revelation to this, or if there was some next step, I still think it would be a reach because it's pretty deep into personal business and not, doesn't have any impact on how she would lead the country. But there's literally nothing new here. Not one thing. It's just old, tired, recycled, rehashed gossip in some cases. And yeah, it's a thing that happened, and I imagine it's pretty embarrassing for the Clinton family, but they're moving on just fine. And there's no reason to bring it up. Nobody cares.
And again, the man who brings it up is...
Yeah.
Donald Trump? Really? I think if you were a marriage counselor and you would say, here's a couple, that you should take as your role model.
Yeah, right.
These people happily married for years, a nice family, really supports the whole thing, right? I don't think you would hold up Donald Trump.
No.
Steven's calling from out in your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS. Let's go to Steven in Aurora, Illinois. Hey, Steven.
Hey, Bill, I got four things. I'd like for you to explain the last caller about Hillary playing the victim or victimizing the victim. I think that Trump, when Ivana was in divorce court, she said she was raped. His lawyer said that a husband can't rape a wife. I've never heard that one before. And now he trades in his wives whenever they get a little bit old. And it wasn't too long ago when he said he'd do his own daughter. So tell me, what kind of family values is that?
Precise. You made the point more graphic than I did about Donald Trump. Yeah, I don't think he's the paragon of family values. I don't know. I mean, I'm not attacking him either, but he says his past is fair game. I'd like to know maybe the story about all of his divorces and what were the are those records public, by the way? I don't know.
There were some
Stephen, good point,
fairly harsh accusations thrown his way after his first divorce. His former wife wrote about what he did in their marriage in her book, and they're not nice. They're not nice at all.
I never heard that he had indicated he might do his daughter, but I would not put it past him.
No, he did. He said,
he did?
If I could, I would date my daughter. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. Who wouldn't want to date her? If I wasn't married and we weren't related, of course I would date her. He did say that. I've seen him say that.
What a pig. Karen is down in Augusta, Georgia. Hey, Karen, good to have you with us.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you're there. Right. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to make a difference in attacking Bill Clinton. But I just wonder how come people never attack him, unlike his business dealings in Scotland. How come they never attacked him on what happened with Trump University? How he's, gone after people and ripped off people. Nobody ever says anything. about Trump? Why are they so afraid to go after him?
You know, that's a very good point, Karen. I really think the media has given Donald Trump pretty much of a free ride in terms of his business dealings. You know, because they haven't looked into. I forgot about Trump University, and I don't know the details. Maybe I should have done more homework on this on the Scotland deal, but I know that was a whole messy operation. And I think that the media, Karen, has kind of thought the way they treat Donald Trump is, well, he's a businessman, right? And some businesses work and some don't, and you know, every business has times when things look bad and then they come back again. So they haven't really probed his business dealings. Wouldn't you agree, Peter?
Yeah, no, he has an answer for a lot of his business stuff.
And also, they certainly have not probed his personal background. Maybe they will now.
I hope so.
He certainly is inviting them to right now, Karen. But no, you make a good point. This guy should not get a thanks, Karen, so much for the call. This guy should not get a free ride. But again, I just say if it's sort of like the Republicans voting 62 times to repeal Obamacare, right? They should have learned by now that this is not going to work.
No.
Okay. I think they should have learned by now that attacking Hillary for something that Bill did and thinking that the American people are going to take that seriously and follow that and use that as a reason for voting against Hillary, unless they, are just diehard Republicans and would never vote for any Democrat anyway. But certainly among independents, if they really think that, I don't know what it's based on. It's not. It certainly contradicts anything that's happened in the past. I mean, they should have learned by now. This ain't going to work.
It's a
this
reach.
Dog don't hunt, as they say in the South.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a reach. It is a total reach. They don't know what else to do. They think it's fair game. They think it's going to have some impact on this whole. I mean, the play for the evangelicals on the Republican side this cycle is very interesting, right? Because they always go that route. But they're trying to turn this into a fight for the morality of family.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And by the way, so far, I think this is instructive too. So far, to my knowledge, only Donald Trump is using this.
Rand Paul went down this path early on.
He did. That's right. Yep, you're right. He did. But Ted Cruz isn't, even with the evangelicals. I think some of the saner, smarter, I wouldn't say saner, smarter voices, politically smarter voices, realize this is a dead end street. So far, it's only Donald Trump. And you know what? I think the Clintons are handling it the right way. So far, Bill Clinton has refused to take the bait, and he should. He ought to just talk about the issues and say, I'm just out here helping my wife.
I'm just here to help.
I'm just here to help Hillary any way I can.
Can I get your number?
And then Hillary, should continue to say, bring it on, baby. If this is what you want to do, I think it's stupid, but bring it on. Yeah, because it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Elias Isquith standing by from Salon Magazine. We'll jump in and get his take on the news of the day coming up next with all of you at 866-55-PRESS.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go now, 13 minutes after the hour. It looks like Elias Isquith has, I think he decided to sleep in today, you know?
He got so used to all those, 4-day weekend of Christmas and New Year's.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Anyhow, we'll catch up with him one of these days, but not answering right now. There's lots to talk about. By the way, did you take the Metro yesterday at all?
No, I didn't.
Did you, Jamie?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
And did you leave your pants on? Did you
Yes,
take your pants off?
For a change.
For once I managed to leave my pants on.
No.
Was it the no pants?
Yesterday was no pants day.
No, really?
Yes, it was. Yes. I'm just reading here, tens of thousands of people in 60 different cities, from New York City to Tokyo, Madrid to Moscow, took off their pants yesterday
I always miss
on the subway.
I didn't see anything.
No,
there was
really?
guys dressed in superhero outfits, but that was about it.
It's a no pants subway ride, the 15th annual. I don't know whether it 60 cities in over 25 different countries. I'm not sure. Why wouldn't Washington celebrate?
Right? That's right up our alley.
Yeah, I didn't. And we got to stop right across the street here, Eastern Market. I didn't use this Metro yesterday, or I would have been pantless.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
You got the sip laugh on that one, by the way.
Well,
But this way,
no.
If I had not known about it and I got on there and I saw other people with, I might not have been.
Hey, what
first
the hell?
one.
And then you just drop trowel.
Right, exactly. They do leave their underpants on.
Trowel.
I want you to know.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah,
Look,
hope so,
there are
right.
a lot of places.
It's not streaking the subway. It's pantless, no pants subway ride.
When I think of all the places that I would want to sit down with no pants on,
the Metro is not necessarily the first place.
No.
Right? No.
No.
Yeah, that's right. You never know what disease you could be.
Yeah, I know.
On the Metro. I just wanted to point out, see how many.
Damn it,
We didn't ask Ray. Was Ray? Did you use the subway yesterday, Ray?
No, she wasn't
yesterday.
Oh, okay. All right.
Damn. I wish I had known.
I'm glad we were.
I
all-
wouldn't have taken my pants off, I don't think, but I would have at least enjoyed the spectacle.
And take it
Just
out
as long as I didn't get on the train with you.
and take it out your cell phone.
Yeah, right.
Right. Hey, on a more serious note, I wasn't here Friday. I didn't have a chance to talk to you about what I thought was just, last week, the rollout of President Obama's gun safety measures was really extraordinary. We haven't seen anything like that in the history of this White House. As we talked, they telegraphed it ahead of time before what he was going to do before he left Hawaii. Then he got back in town the first day. He holds a meeting with the Attorney General. He briefed reporters afterwards. He met with members of Congress. He made the big announcement in the East Room of the White House. Then he did the big town hall meeting Thursday night at George Mason University. We never saw a president cry before, or very rarely, certainly, as the president did break down in that Tuesday morning session in the East Room of the White House. And we've never seen a president really confront some angry voters and constituents, as CNN set up. And with the White House's blessing, they wanted it to be, both sides to be heard at that town hall meeting Thursday night. It was extraordinary. The president was in rare form defending what he did. And I thought it was respectfully done.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
For the most part, right. Except for maybe Anderson Cooper once in a while getting a little.
There was some interesting being seen in to try and create conflict, right? I think Anderson Cooper asked a couple of questions that were, frankly, a little out of line, but at least it gave the president a chance to push back.
Yeah,
there was an awkward moment where they had Chris Kyle's widow sort of planted in the audience for her to ask a question to the president. It's like, how do you respond to that? It was a little forced, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was a real discussion.
And the president did acknowledge, largely because of the propaganda of the NRA, that every time anybody suggests doing anything reasonable about gun safety, gun nuts run out and just buy more guns.
Every time there's a mass shooting, gun sales spike. And part of the reason is that the NRA is convinced, many of its members, that somebody's going to come grab your guns.
And the president said, yeah, indeed, that idea that we're going to take all your guns away is a conspiracy, and no matter what Anderson Cooper tries to say.
This notion of a conspiracy out there.
But let me just jump in. Is it fair to call it a conspiracy? I mean, there's a lot of people really believe this deeply, that they just don't. No. They just don't trust you.
I'm sorry, Cooper. Yes, it is fair to call it a conspiracy. What are you saying? Are you suggesting that the notion that we are creating a plot to take everybody's guns away so that we can impose martial law
but there's certainly a lot of people.
Conspiracy? Yes, that is a conspiracy. And we can do better than we're doing right now.
No, Anderson, you're wrong. You're dead ass wrong.
No, Cooper.
Yeah, no, Cooper. You're dead ass. I mean, yeah, a lot of people believe it. Well, they're nuts.
That's a great answer.
They're nuts. It's been 7 years, right? Yeah. And nobody is out there trying to take everybody's gun away. And don't give it the benefit of calling it a legitimate fear. It's not a legitimate fear. It is based on nothing but the warnings and the strident cries of the NRA, which a lot of nutty people believe. The NRA, who was invited to participate in this forum, by the way, but decided they had better things to do. They did not. I think, talk about cowards.
Yeah.
The gun manufacturers did not want their lobbyist present. Anyhow, it was a very powerful, a very, very powerful thing. And you know what? I'm sure, with all the talk about what's going to be in the State of the Union tomorrow night, I'm sure the president is not going to miss the opportunity to call on Congress one more time to do something about gun safety. That's what the American people want and deserve. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. while you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
It's 36 seconds before the State of the Union tomorrow night.
A countdown clock's a good workout, man.
CNN's countdown clock's getting a little old.
Yeah.
Yes, Peter?
Yeah. All right. So here's a countdown. You can count down to this week because there's going to be some big TV to be watching. Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show. We already knew this, that Donald Trump was going to be a guest on January 13th. So I guess that would be Wednesday night this week.
Yeah, right.
Thursday night, he has another guest. Hillary Clinton. The day after Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton will be on The Tonight Show. So hopefully they'll get that green room fumigated after Donald Trump was there. So these late night shows, man, they're racking up all these presidential
It'll be interesting to see if Donald Trump appears live on set.
That's a good point. Yeah, he might call it on the cell phone. I tell you what, I bet they don't allow that there. I bet they'll make him come in the studio.
Yeah, I would hope not. Top of the next hour, Catherine Rampell from the Washington Post. Lots coming up in the next hour. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produce the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Statistical tie in both Iowa and New Hampshire between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. What a race this has turned out to be. Feel the burn. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say on a Monday, January 11? It's good to see you today. Welcome to the Bill Press Show. We're here with you all across this great land of ours, coast to coast, on radio and on television, on your local progressive talk radio station. Again, nationwide, and on Free Speech TV. Worldwide, you can find us on any electronic device, on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Whether you're listening or watching, it's good to have you with us today as we round up the news of the day, bring it to you, and give you a chance to tell us what you think about it all. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Look forward to hearing from you. And you can just send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show, and we'll track your comments that way as well. Team Press here in place, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, hello.
Yes, hello, sir.
Bill. Good weekend.
Happy Monday.
Good? Yeah. Happy
Great
Monday.
weekend. Happy Monday.
All right. No more details. Yes. Ray Rogers here on the phones. She's here to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding is here to keep us looking good on Free Speech TV and Talker TV, our videographer. And, Republicans generally hear all about this war on women. Well, maybe that's true or not, but certainly sometimes they have a deaf ear when it comes to how they either talk about or treat women. Ted Cruz, for example, showing two left feet here yesterday when he was trying to make a point about Hillary is fair game politically. He compares it to how he treats his daughter.
You know, I'll tell you, in my house, if my daughter Catherine, the 5-year-old, says something that she knows to be false, she gets a spanking. Well, in America, the voters have a way of administering a spanking.
A little awkward, don't you think?
First of all, he
should not be spanking his daughter.
Right. Yeah. First
Number
of all, don't spank your kids.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
That's over and done with. That argument has already been won.
And certainly don't brag about it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go shaming your kids out there.
Yeah. Right.
Second of all,
you don't talk about giving grown women spankings.
No, you don't.
At least not in some circles.
Not if you're running for president.
Right,
anyway.
even if it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Like,
I
not
know.
even as a metaphor. No.
No.
Hey, that's my job.
All right. Hey, we like that. Lots going on here. We're going to start off with Catherine Rampell from the Washington Post, who's written all about Obamacare. Get the update on that at the half hour. two representatives of American Federation of Teachers, the AFT, here to talk about this big Supreme Court case today. They'll hear arguments in a case affecting public employees nationwide. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. For the Golden Globes we go. They happened last night. We're going to tear through these because, the Golden Globes have a lot more categories than the Oscars. So,
and they have a lot of influence.
Oh, yeah, of course. Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy went to Matt Damon for The Martian. Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture went to Kate Winslet. The Best Original Score was The Hateful Eight, which was great. The Best Drama Motion Picture, these are the big ones here.
Yeah,
Drama Motion Picture went to The Revenant.
Yeah, surprise for me.
Best Actor was Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. Best Director, Alejandro.
Did the Bear win anything?
The Bear did not win. Okay. The Best Director of a Motion Picture, Alejandro Inarritu for The Revenant. Let's see. Best Animated Feature was Inside Out. Best Musical or Comedy Motion Picture was The Martian. How about Sylvester Stallone getting Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture for Creed? I'm not so sure about this, but Sip was pulling for him. And Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy was Jennifer Lawrence for the animated film Inside Out.
Spotlight, nothing.
No.
Oh, excuse me, Joy, not Inside Out. Joy. Yeah, Spotlight was completely shut out here.
Big Short, nothing.
I don't think so.
I don't see anything for The Big Short.
I think that'll be different at the Oscars.
I think the Oscars things will be different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We talk about this often, and we pay attention when restaurants do this, but another restaurant has gotten rid of tipping.
No tips, huh?
David Chang, who we know for the Momofuku Empire, opened up a new restaurant on Friday. It's called Nishi. It's in the Chelsea neighborhood of New York City in Manhattan. And it is going to be tip-free. Service is including in the dining experience. So while there's several other Momofuku restaurants, they still are going to have the tipping. This one will not. So I'm not sure if this is a sign of things to come for the other restaurants, but we will see. And I one of these days I'll give you a positive story about Chipotle, but for now I don't have a positive story about Chipotle. Yeah, another lawsuit has been brought against Chipotle, this time by investors. It was filed by one of their investors, Susie Ong, who says that the company, quote, failed to disclose that the quality controls were inadequate to safeguard consumer and employee health. In other words, they're saying that the company's stock, which has tanked over the last 6 months, has had an impact on investors, and they want to get some of their money back. And they say that Chipotle did not let them know, did not explain to the investors that they had a problem and that they tried to cover up the problem.
You know what? It's been a great chain for a long time, so I really hope they can turn this around, because I do enjoy a burrito bowl, or used to, at Chipotle. I walked by the Chipotle here on 8th Street yesterday, and I saw some people there sitting there, and I thought, you brave souls.
I'm going to tell you something. There's a Chipotle's near my house, and I drive by it all the time, and there's always an ungodly line, right?
Yeah,
which is sort of the deal. I drove by there prime time on Saturday night. It was like 7 o'clock.
Nobody there?
Ghost town.
Same thing for me. Friday night, Columbia Heights, here in D.C. Always
crazy,
packed.
man.
Yeah,
Nobody.
It's got to be. Really got to be. Hope they can turn it around. Yes, indeed. 13 minutes now after the hour. President Obama, legacy time, a big State of the Union tomorrow night, his final State of the Union, where he may well be expected to tick off some of the what he considers good things that he's been able to accomplish with the help of Democrats and Republicans in Congress. On such a list, certainly, or maybe leading such a list, will be Obamacare. Catherine Rampell is columnist for the Washington Post and has written recently about Obamacare. A checkup for Obamacare reveals a positive prognosis, and joins us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Catherine, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
So what are the numbers on Obamacare right now? Why do you say positive prognosis overall? How many people have signed up and how?
Well, we've had, I guess it first of all, it depends on what we define as Obamacare, right? So I'm including people on the exchanges as well as the Medicaid expansion.
Yeah, it's all fair, right?
Right. So if you look at the net increase in the number of people who have health insurance, because remember, basically the first objective of this law, arguably, was just expanding access to health care through insurance. If you look at those numbers, we've fallen from about 18% people uninsured in 2010 when the Affordable Care Act passed, and between the first half of last year to 10.5%. So the share of people who don't have insurance has about fallen in half. And that is pretty much where the Congressional Budget Office said we would be. They said that we would be at about 9%. We're at about 10%. And again, the CBO's estimate was premised on the idea that all 50 states would expand Medicaid. Since then, the Supreme Court decided that all states did not have to expand Medicaid. So in that context, we're doing very well. We're about where CBO expected under rosier conditions. If you look at cost control, likewise, the numbers look better than everyone expected, in fact. Cost control meaning not necessarily costs falling. No one really thought that was within the realm of possibility.
But the curve,
so much
right?
as, right, exactly. Bending the cost curve, this phrase that we heard a lot in 2010. The idea that healthcare costs were rising unsustainably, way faster than inflation, and we wanted to bring that number down so that your premiums were still expected to go up, but not up quite as quickly. And in those numbers, again, things look really good. We had, for example, national health spending rates, so that the amount of spending overall in the economy devoted to health care. That was expected to be, I think it was something like 5.5% in 2013. It was actually 3.6%. I mean, I know throwing a bunch of numbers out there can make your head spin, but basically the bottom line is that healthcare turned out to be cheaper than people expected. Exactly how much credit the Affordable Care Act should get for that is dicey, of course. We did have a recession and the aftermath of a recession, which probably held down spending. There were some expensive patented drugs that lost their IP protections, meaning that there were generics available. There are a bunch of things going on here. But either way, the predictions were, from like the CBO, that we would have some modest cost control, and we've had much more. The predictions from opponents were that things were just going to spiral out of control, and all of a sudden premiums everywhere were going to triple or whatever, and that very much did not happen. Again, we've still seen premiums go up, but just not as quickly as had been forecast.
So if you take, if you take the people, let's say, I don't know whether it's possible to calculate this, but I'm curious about the young people who are still on their parents' health care, people who have signed up on the state or federal exchanges, and people who have coverage now because of expanded Medicaid or Medicare, right? What are we talking about? 20 million people, or do you know? Do we know that number?
I don't have the number. I don't have the number in front of me. I think the number is something around 30 million, though, as I recall. It was something in that ballpark.
Now, these are 30 million.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, who did not have health care before the Affordable Care Act.
Correct.
Right? So,
Correct.
So, first of all, this tells you a couple of things, I guess. Number one, doesn't it tell us that Obamacare is here to stay?
It certainly seems that way. Not only given those numbers I rattled off, but also the fact that it sustained several court challenges, 62 votes from Congress to try to repeal it. It's been battered quite a bit and has somehow managed to survive. I will say that the one metric on which Obamacare is not doing so well is public opinion. Americans still really don't like it, but that seems to be more than anything else a branding problem, as opposed to a reflection of its actual effectiveness. If you look at polling based on how do you like, one of the provisions that you mentioned, the idea that 26-year-olds can stay on their, or young people up to the age of 26 can stay on their parents' insurance. How do you like the fact that you can't be denied insurance if you have a pre-existing condition? How do you like the Medicaid expansions, for example? all of these individual provisions are actually very popular amongst Americans. So the thing that they don't like is Obamacare. They don't like the name of the law, essentially.
Right.
So in that respect, it is still somewhat endangered,
and
just because it's not popular.
Right. And when you look at, with all these people signed up and all the good things that it's done, essentially, this is still a huge bonanza for private insurance companies, isn't it? Because you have to buy, everybody has to buy insurance from a private insurance company.
Well, yes. Well, not necessarily from a private insurance company. They can get it through Medicaid if they qualify.
Sorry, obviously, the Medicaid people, sure.
But your point, yes, your point very much stands that this is definitely a good thing for insurance companies in that they have a huge increase in the number of customers that are required to partake of their services. So it's good for them. Arguably, it's good for a lot of care providers as well, since they are able to get new patients.
Sure.
Although many of them grumble about other provisions in the bill, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, for the healthcare industry is that's where a lot of new jobs we're seeing today because new clinics, new coverage, more people covered, more people coming in, and not necessarily to emergency rooms now, right, but to clinics for actually medical care. Right. And so all around. Many good vendors. I'm a single payer guy, right? So I still come back to. I wish there'd been a public plan option, as the president talked about, as part of Obamacare, but he decided not to pursue that. So so we see that Obamacare is, I guess, the bottom line, right, for you, Catherine, is Obamacare is doing well, better every year, I guess, and here to stay.
That seems to be the case right now, certainly.
Yeah. Good work there. Good. So glad of you so happy that you would take some time for us this morning to lay it out for us. Thanks, Catherine.
My pleasure.
Catherine Rampell at the Washington Post. Her column and others, of course, you follow at WashingtonPost.com.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness.
My beauty.
My power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired.
Tapped.
And tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, here we go now at 27 minutes after the hour. Whoa. Moving into a big half hour coming up next. Supreme Court will hear arguments today in a case affecting all public employees nationwide. 2 representatives of the American Federation of Teachers will be here in the studio to explain this case to us and its implications for public employees across the country. All of our good brothers and sisters, part of AFT or NEA or AFSCME or SEIU, their jobs could be on the line in these Supreme Court arguments today. We'll hear all about it from 2 representatives of the American Federation of Teachers. On this Monday, January 11, the Bill Press Show coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Hold on, and we'll be
the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go now. 33 minutes after the hour on a big Monday, January 11. The Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live, coast to coast, all over this great land of ours, both on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, and also on Free Speech TV. Good to have you with us. We start out from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers. Good men and women of the AFT making a difference in America's classrooms every day. Under President Randy Weingarten, you bet. You can find out more about their good work at their website at aft.org. We're just down the street from the Capitol and from the United States Supreme Court, where a very big case will be heard today, which affects members of the AFT and members of every public employees union nationwide. And two members of the AFT join us here in studio to talk about that important case. Let's start out with Pankaj Sharma from Niles Township, Illinois, right? Just outside of Chicago?
Just outside Chicago, correct.
High school teacher out there?
I am.
All right. Who's taking care of your class today? Or did you just give it the school shut down because you're out of town?
My students are delighted that I won't be there today. There's a substitute teacher. And, but they're excited that I'm participating in the democratic process by being here. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, good for you. And then Ryan Eckes is with the AFT up in the Philadelphia area teaching at Temple University, right?
Yes.
Ryan, good to have you here.
Good to meet you.
We're going to be in Philadelphia for the Democratic Convention.
Yeah, this summer, right?
This summer, yeah, indeed. Do you know Father Judge High School in Philadelphia? Did you ever hear of it?
Yes, I have. That's where my father went to high school.
Is that right?
Yep.
He might have been one of my students. I taught there for 2
Wow.
years at Father Judge High School.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that? Big school. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. I grew up in a town of 1,200 people, and there were 4,000 kids in that high school when I taught there.
Wow.
Yeah, biggest world I'd ever been in.
Wow.
All right, so tell us why this case is so important. What is the case? It's all about the California Teachers Association. So why does it impact you? Do you want to start?
Sure,
Pankaj?
sure. Well, for
What's
teachers,
the challenge here? What's the issue?
The issue is the agency fee. And so since 1977, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0, and that was a pretty conservative Supreme Court, that states can decide to make unions the exclusive bargaining agent at a workplace. So in Illinois, where I work, everyone is represented by the union. And I've been a union leader for about 8 years in my workplace, and we are required to represent everybody. Everyone who works in the schools benefits from the work that we do, whether it is negotiating a fair contract, whether it's negotiating lower class sizes, time for teachers to collaborate, time for teachers to meet with each other and with their students. Everyone's benefits from that. Salary, health insurance, everything is covered. And so the Supreme Court in 1977 said since everybody the union must represent everybody, the union is allowed to collect a fee from everybody, even if they're not a member. So people who are bringing this case are making bold and baseless claims. They are asserting that teachers are being forced to join unions. That's not true. No one in this country is forced to join a union, and no one is forced to pay for the political activities that unions may engage in. So the people in Illinois who do not want to join a union for whatever reason that might be, they pay a agency fee for the representation they get by the union, and none of that money is allowed to go towards political activity. And if this case is decided,
it goes to
representing them, towards representing their working conditions, and towards representing them if they should have a grievance filed or need representation for any reason. And if this case is decided against working people, then we as a union would have to provide the exact same services we already provide to every single member, but our resources would be reduced. And it's an attempt to weaken unions and to weaken working people.
Isn't this, Ryan, then people who want all the benefits without paying their fair share, basically getting a free ride? Is that what it's all about?
Yes, it is. It would create a situation where you have a bunch of freeloaders. Pankaj, I think, covered it pretty well, what the case is about.
And who is bringing this case?
The Center for Individual Rights, which is a powerful, they call themselves libertarian organization.
They're pretty well known as a pretty right-wing legal foundation that has been filed. There's filed a lot of lawsuits all over the land, but this is one particular issue that they've been on for a while. But their plaintiffs, right, are teachers from California?
Yes.
Who make the same claim that Pankaj was talking about. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And the plaintiffs are very sympathetic, and they're nice people, and they're good teachers, and we don't have an issue with the plaintiffs. But it's clear they're being funded by right-wing conservative groups like the Koch brothers, who see an opportunity to weaken workers and unions across the country in one blow.
And why did the Supreme Court take this case? I guess is.
Well, it seems like it's Samuel Alito's personal project. That he doesn't like unions. He doesn't like public sector unions in particular, and he's been sort of hoping for it. And a couple years ago in Harris versus Quinn, he sort of alluded to the fact that, boy, it'd be great if we could talk about the agency fee in general. And that case was more limited because it was about home health care workers who don't really have a workplace, and it's a different situation than people who are firefighters, police officers, social workers, or teachers. And so we do, unfortunately, have 5 sort of conservative voices on the Supreme Court. And if they undo this, this is something that's been set in place for 40 years. It was decided 9-0. It would overturn a very important labor precedent, and it would shake tens of thousands of contracts established all across the country. It really would be a major, major change in labor relations in this country.
Would this apply to, Ryan, to more than teachers' unions? Would it apply, to more than the AFT?
Well, yeah, it would apply to all public sector unions.
Mm-hmm.
So it could deal quite a blow to working people.
So not just the AFT, or not just the NEA, right? Or not just the California Teachers Association, but like SEIU represent public employees.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
AFSCME,
Mm-hmm.
public employees, AFGE, public employees, they're federal employees, and there are others, the American Postal Workers Union.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the private sector, it's a question, not a statement. In the private sector, this decision, were the Supreme Court to rule in favor of the plaintiffs, would undermine the work of all of those public employee unions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Public employee unions is what they're targeting. Private sector employee unions, I don't think, would be impacted by this particular. Other than there are brothers and sisters in the labor movement, and if you weaken one, you weaken all.
Have you all filed amicus briefs, I guess, against this? Have all the unions filed amicus briefs against this?
Yes, and AFT I know has, and other groups I'm sure have as well.
Right. What gets me, and I read, there's an article in Politico this morning, Politico.com. Conservative group nears big payoff in Supreme Court case, and as you point out, the case brought by the Center for Individual Rights, a right-wing organization, and a whole lot of other right-wing legal organizations, I shouldn't say law firms, including the Donors Capital Fund and the Donors Trust, funded by the Koch brothers. They're into everything, right? The Dunn's Foundation for the Advancement of Right Thinking, the F.M. Kirby Foundation. Basically what this is, isn't it, Ryan, is that all of these right-wing legal organizations have gotten together to bust the unions. That's what this is all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a straight-up attack on working-class people.
And working families and teachers and public employees across the country.
Yeah. Well, and also it's going to hurt our students. Where we work, we have a voice in the workplace, so we have the ability where I teach to fight against cuts that often target our most marginalized or at-risk students, whose parents, for whatever reason, often because they're also marginalized, can't speak up for them. So in our district, they've targeted in the past English language learning programs. They've targeted social workers or mental health professionals in the buildings. They've targeted career education courses like automotive courses or culinary courses. And those, unfortunately, are often students whose parents may not have the time or the ability to speak out for their programs. And so they depend on their teachers and their unions to speak up for them, to speak up for lower class sizes, to speak up against standardized test prep. And so, absolutely, when you create a good working place for teachers, you're creating a great school for students. And if you weaken the ability of teachers to advocate for what is a good teaching and learning system, it's going to hurt public education. And these are people who are opposed to public education. They know that. So this is something that's really very dangerous.
I got to tell you, as a former teacher, and also as a lifelong union member, I just don't understand the constant attack on teachers' unions. Rather than just supporting teachers, supporting the work that you guys and all your brothers and sisters are doing, which I think is the most important work in the country. Instead, you're fighting off these attacks. It's ever since I've been involved in politics, it's been happening, and these people finally have been able to get a case all the way to the Supreme Court, which is pretty scary. Arguments are being held today. You've heard what this case is all about. What do you think of it? 866-55-PRESS. Samuel Alito wanted this case. He's got it. We'll see if he can line up 4 other votes, or if maybe good reasoning and good thinking could prevail. But with this court, that's always a challenge. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now, 13 minutes before the top of the hour. This big case in front of the Supreme Court. It must have a name. Do you know the name?
It's Friedrichs versus the California Teachers Association, I believe.
Okay, all right. That's the case that it will be heard. Basically, it's a right-wing attack on all public employee unions, particularly the teachers' union, which are always a target of attack from the right wing. And it's funded by the Koch brothers and others. In studio with us. Punkish Sharma, did I get it right?
You got it.
Oh, man. All right. And Ryan Eckes here from the AFT. Punkish from Illinois, Niles Township, Illinois, and Ryan from just outside of Philadelphia, or Philadelphia. Right? Teaching at Temple. Here's I know maybe a naive approach to this, but okay, if these people don't want to pay their agency fee, which is roughly how much a year? Do you know?
It could be for us like $600 a year.
Okay. Right?
It varies. I think it's a percentage.
All right. But for all of that, they've got a lobbyist, or they've got a team that is providing representation, right, for all these different things that you pointed out, right, working on their behalf, right? All right, so if they don't want to pay that fee, why don't you just say, all right, then you don't get any of the benefits that we get for the rest of them? Then you go out, you negotiate your own salary, you negotiate your own vacation benefit. You're on your own, dude. Why can't you do that? Just cut them out.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I teach government, and we talk about the free rider problem, which is an issue you see in a variety of organizations where people like to get the benefit but don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, freeloaders, as Ryan said.
Right, and so my students will say, why doesn't the union just not represent those people? And that's because of the Supreme Court decision 1977, the Abu decision, the union is the exclusive bargaining agent for every employee in the workplace. So
that assumes, isn't it, that everybody's on board, right?
But they're obligated. And honestly, it's because if you didn't have that, think about if you're the school board for whatever school district in this country. How can you negotiate individual contracts with people? It just would be a headache and a mess for the employer. So actually, having a union in place makes things a lot easier for the employer, because instead of negotiating 600 separate contracts, you negotiate one that is fair for everybody. And actually, that's why unions are so important, because they create transparency and fair pay. In unionized professions, you have way more equal pay and transparency than you do in the private sector. And so, to answer your question, the union has to represent everyone who works there, whether they pay or not.
They want their cake and eat it too, and not pay for it. Which is just simply not fair. And I hope that argument prevails in the court. Although with this court, with the Roberts court, tough battle. Yep. Steve is calling from. Let's say hello to Steve out in Madison, Wisconsin, on 92.1 The Mic. Hi, Steve. Thanks for your call. What's your point?
Governor Walker here and other politicians love to use the term union bosses and demonize union bosses. Yet, I don't think he could name one union boss or what they make.
You know what? I think you're probably right. I mean, Steve, I'm really glad you called, because Scott Walker has, like Bruce Rauner in Illinois, I mean, like his entire political career is anti-union, right? Trying to bust the union.
Yes, indeed. And, he's followed the Koch brother, errand man playbook here. And, all union people are trying to do is make a decent living, whereas the Koch brothers are greedy and, trying to rake in as much as they can, and all union workers are trying to do is make a living.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And that's well, Koch brothers put up Walker as their candidate, and the first thing he did was, try to, again, going after the public employee unions, because first he went after the private sector unions, right? Beat them down, and now their focus is entirely on the public sector unions. Before we get to Beverly here, on his point, I don't want to ask you how much money you make, right? But I mean, teachers are not necessarily the highest paid, shall we say, employees in the country. Brian, would you agree?
I would agree. I'm an adjunct professor, so I've cobbled together a living over the last decade teaching at multiple schools each semester in order to have an income that ranges between $20,000 and $26,000 a year.
From multiple jobs, multiple
from
teaching.
Multiple, yeah. And so
right.
Most adjunct professors are non-unionized. That's starting to change.
So, Punkish, in let's say a first-year professor, somebody starting teaching in high school in Illinois, what's the general range?
In Illinois, it can range depending on where you're teaching, somewhere from $30,000 to maybe $48,000, depending on where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I think it's a good point, because Bruce...
You're not in the 1%.
Absolutely not in the 1%. People don't go into what we do to become wealthy, but it should be a step into the middle class. It should be an opportunity to do that, and it has always meant that in this country. That's because we're unionized and able to advocate for fair wages and benefits.
All right. Will you be in the court today? Will you be inside the court today? Do you know?
We will not be.
No, we'll be outside.
Okay.
We'll be outside, yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Then my advice to you outside is make as much noise as possible, right? Raise as much hell as possible. If you were going to be inside, I was there only once. I was just going to say, whatever you do, you might get pissed off, but you cannot say anything or else you'll get thrown out. All right. This is an important battle. You are fighting on behalf of all of our brothers and sisters nationwide. So thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed. All right.
Thank you.
And I'll be right back and wrap things up with the president's schedule for today.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, don't go away. We have a big third hour coming up, and you're going to we'll have to wait until 5 o'clock Eastern, of course, on Free Speech TV to watch, but you can watch it right away on TawkrTV, our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Two of our favorite reporters coming in to take a look at the political and policy scene, Cameron Joseph and Matt Laszlo. So stay tuned for hour number 3 here on this Monday edition of the Bill Press Show, January 11. Good to have you with us.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat the threat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like it back?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, on a Monday, January 11, Cameron Joseph from Mashable, senior political writer, here at the top of the hour, followed by Matt Laszlo from Daily Beast. Well, the State of the Union is tomorrow, and that's reflected in the president's schedule today. He and the vice president get the daily briefing at 10 o'clock, and then after that, there ain't nothing on the schedule. No public or private events listed, which means the president's going to be fine-tuning his State of the Union address and probably doing a couple of run-throughs in the movie theater there at the White House, which is where they do their rehearsals for the State of the Union. But we still will have our Daily Briefing with Josh Ernest at 12:30. I'll be there and tell you all about it tomorrow. Back with Cameron Joseph.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
One of the most profound movements and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery, and that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery. It was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 $1
What?
Hey, don't bother buying a ticket because I'm going to win this one. I'm going to buy one ticket for it. And that's it. That's all it takes. $2 and a dream.
That's
Hello,
it.
everybody. What do you say? It is Monday, January 11th. Great to see you today. And thank you for climbing on the Bill Press bus here as we lead out to you from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And join you on the radio, your local progressive talk radio station nationwide, and join you on television on Free Speech TV as well. Thanks for being with us. Lots going on, lots to talk about. You know how to do it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. So much to get through today. We need the help of friends and our good friend Cameron Joseph, now with Mashable, senior political writer, Mashable.com, of course. Cameron joins us in studio again. Hello, Cameron. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year. This is your
Happy New Year.
first appearance in the new year. We appreciate that very much. And you know our team members here, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hey. Yep, good morning.
Yep, indeed.
Happy Monday.
Hello. Happy Monday. Ray Rogers. Looks like she survived the weekend, too, and she's here to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bowling trying to recover from the humiliating defeat of the Washington football team yesterday. Do they have a new name yet? No?
No, still the same old.
Then there's still the Washington football team.
Washington Caucasians.
That's it.
But Cyprian's here as our videographer as well. And I don't know whether you caught any of the Golden Globes last night. Ricky Gervais, he was sort of on good behavior.
Yeah, he seemed to be. He didn't say anything too crazy.
Didn't say anything.
Yeah, I was seeing stories about other people this year, which was a sign that Ricky Gervais didn't go too hard on anyone. You know?
Yeah, no, exactly. He did have fun introducing two outstanding stars who might be in trouble if Donald Trump is elected. Here's Ricky.
Eva Longoria and America Ferrera aren't just beautiful, talented actresses. They're also two people who your future president, Donald Trump, can't wait to deport. Please welcome Eva Longoria and America Ferrera.
I love the Brit poking fun of us saying, your future president. Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Hey.
There's a petition going around the UK Parliament to ban Donald Trump.
No.
So
yeah.
We brought this onto ourselves. We really did.
Well, that's where Trump said he was going to pull his casino out of Scotland if they did that or something.
Which they would be so sad about. This petition started off with a bunch of Scots who hated him long before it was cool. They're like the hipster Scots wearing a bunch of plaid. And they'd fought him about the casino and the golf course back in the day.
Yeah.
And they've hated him ever since then. They're like, oh, the rest of the world agrees with us now? And yeah, they've gone haggis wild with the petition now. So it's kind of fun to see. We actually did a big story on Mashable before I got there about that. But yeah, it's astounding. I mean, Donald Trump has to be taken seriously now, and I'm still getting my head around that.
I don't know. I'm still getting used to the fact that people have to treat him with some sort of
and not just as a factor in the GOP,
No,
not as a guy who could theoretically above 10% chance of winning the nomination.
Yeah.
And someone's going to have to stop him at some point. I still don't think he's the most likely to win, but I mean he's a real player now. It's mind-boggling. It really is.
Someone's going to have to stop him, and we've been saying that since June 16.
Yeah, all right.
All right. So Cameron here with us for the first half hour, and then Matt Laszlo from Deadly Beast joins us a little bit later. We'll get right to it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. We will start off with some very sad news. We woke up this morning to find out that David Bowie passed away in the early morning hours this morning. He was 69 years old. He had cancer and fought cancer for about 18 months. It said a statement put out by the family said, quote, David Bowie died peacefully today, surrounded by his family after a courageous 18-month battle with cancer, and asked for privacy for his family. So really, really, really bummed about this. I know we talk about deaths all the time.
But a giant of an entertainer.
The thing about Bowie...
In person.
The thing about Bowie is, you've got the music, you've got the fashion, you've got the acting, you've got all these things.
Yeah.
And the fact that he reinvented himself so many times.
Yeah. I mean, he had a new album drop with,
just
8 days ago?
Yeah,
days
right,
ago?
about a week ago.
Yeah, and I was just at a Bowie brunch yesterday where they played the whole record, and it was amazing. I was so excited. I was like, maybe I'll actually get to see him on tour this time. And
It's a bummer.
It really breaks my heart.
The thing I was Jimmy and I were talking about this before the show today. Bowie's music I liked, and I don't think everything that he put out was great, honestly, but I liked a lot of his music. But to me, it was a big turning point because David Bowie was the first certified freak I ever saw.
Yeah.
Right? Growing up in the South, right? When I first saw David Bowie, I was like, whoa.
Right. No, I mean, he made gender bending mainstream.
Yeah.
He was the first one.
Totally.
And
I'm really bummed.
Yeah. He was just a genius on so many levels.
Yeah.
And
So,
a really big loss.
Rest in power, David Bowie, 69. He is gone. There was some controversy over ESPN because they decided to air a lot of their bowl games on New Year's Eve, their big bowl games. And they didn't deliver very well. First of all, the games weren't very good, but also nobody wanted to watch it because it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So now, according to Broadcasting and Cable Magazine, ESPN is negotiating $20 million in make goods with advertisers because they were saying we're going to have this many people watching.
Yeah.
We expect it. And because they were so low, they're going to have to go back and pay these advertisers $20 million. That's how bad it was.
It's a pretty big fumble.
Yeah, it's a huge fumble. And while we're talking football, we'll go to the NFL. You mentioned here at home, the Green Bay Packers came here and walloped the Washington football team 35-18. On Saturday, the Chiefs took on the Texans, won that game 30-0. Also, Pittsburgh Steelers snuck one away from the Cincinnati Bengals. And yesterday, the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Vikings normally play inside of a domed stadium, but that's under construction. So they played outside in Minnesota on January 10th. The temperature was -9. With the wind chill, it was negative 25 yesterday for the game. The Seahawks ended up winning that 10-9 after the Vikings missed a last-minute field goal. The images of what was going on at the stadium, cameramen had to take the batteries off of their camera and hold it in front of a fire so that the batteries would warm up enough to, work.
Didn't the players have special underwear?
I'm sure they had special underwear.
I read that somewhere.
I guarantee you they all
need to, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they all had it. The Vikings have this sort of legendary huge Viking horn that they have that sort of spews fire. That they brought that out, it broke almost immediately. Cracked in 3 pieces because it was so friggin' cold.
Wow.
They had a backup that's made of wood that they brought out and used that one. There's a video of a guy in the stands drinking beer, and he's holding his beer up above his head, and he's dumping beer into his mouth, and it's coming out like a slushie because it's so damn cold. And they played football in it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember having a little beer on the top of my, or a little beer on a little ice on the top of my beer at Soldier Field in the really cold days. But this is 15 degrees colder than I've ever seen.
This is crazy.
Even Minnesotans were complaining about the winter. It's it was cold.
I don't know how your bones don't just shatter when you hit somebody.
Imagine, right? Yeah. You got it. Thank you, Peter. At 14 minutes after the hour. So I have to start off. I have to ask you, Cameron, as a journalist, what do you think that looks like the Pulitzer Prize for the outstanding journalism of 2016 is going to go to Sean Penn?
Oh boy. I haven't read the story yet. I'm going to be fully upfront about that. I just don't. There's so many whats.
I know. Yeah. What? Sean Penn's a journalist? What? Rolling Stone was able to get this interview? What? El Chapo was dumb enough to give an interview?
I mean, it seems to be going back to early Rolling Stone where it's journalism rules don't really apply to us. And sometimes because of that, they get the most interesting stuff because they're not playing by the rules of the game. They're like the Donald Trump of the media world,
Yeah.
But it's just... I'm very excited to read it. That's high on my list. But also, probably shouldn't give a drug lord final edit on a story ethically, right? You should probably be able to say, no, El Chapo, we'll come secretly meet with you, but we're going to write what we want to write, even if it is Sean Penn interviewing. And, they claim that he didn't make any, revisions or changes.
Could there be any legal charges against Sean Penn?
That's out of my area of expertise, honestly. But it certainly seems like the type of thing that's going to bring a lot of scrutiny and heat to the guy. And I'm sure there's certain people who are very pissed about this are going to be looking for a way to get him in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people already dislike Sean Penn, right?
Oh,
he's already been made an enemy by a lot of people. I mean, I think somebody should absolutely look at it.
And I'm not sure that there are. It's the questions people are raising. And I think El Chapo is a little... probably regrets that he gave the interview because the Mexican government says that the contacts surrounding this interview were one of the things that led him to be captured just a few days later. Not in that site. He had fled to another site.
The first time you get busted because you're too cocky and think that no one can get to you, and then have to escape and dig a tunnel, and you figure the guy would just be a little more cautious the second time around.
This was the third time around.
Third time, that's right.
He'd be captured once, escape. Captured second time, escape. This time you would think, he'd be a little more careful. Back here at home on the 2016, which you've been covering. Along with a lot of other stuff. NBC and Wall Street Journal out the latest poll for looking at likely voters in Iowa and New Hampshire. Very interesting. First, on the Republican side, Ted Cruz up 4 points over Donald Trump in Iowa. And in New Hampshire, Donald Trump with a 16-point lead over Marco Rubio. So, as you just were saying earlier, Trump's a real factor here, right? He could still win Iowa, even if Ted Cruz doesn't.
And I think the nightmare scenario for the GOP is those polls hold up, because if Ted Cruz wins Iowa, and I think that's the most likely scenario right now, and I think he hasn't hit his ceiling yet because Ben Carson's still sinking, and those numbers are going to Cruz and they're going to Marco Rubio. Right. Those are mostly evangelical voters. And I think probably Rubio has a little more to gain than Cruz, although marginal against Trump. And we'll see if Trump can actually turn out his voters. That's a big if. But Cruz wins Iowa. The establishment hates Ted Cruz. Some in the establishment hate Ted Cruz more than they hate Donald Trump.
Oh yeah,
because they've dealt with him personally. And Trump wins New Hampshire because there's a four-way establishment split with the Kasich, still pulling some votes, and Fiorina pulling some votes, and Jeb pulling some votes, and Rubio and Christie, like, maybe a distant second at 14%. And people forget, like, I mean, New Hampshire's changed a lot over the years, but this is the state that Pat Buchanan dominated it. I mean, like, he did very well there. There's a streak of blue collar, we hate the elites there, and that is still pretty strong in the GOP there. It's not a religious, anti-establishment, but it's a very strong anti-establishment, worker movement on the right there. And then you start looking at, can the establishment unite around anybody? And all of a sudden it becomes Trump and Cruz, and the establishment, might get to South Carolina bleeding. And then you go to all these southern states, which Trump and Cruz are going to run the numbers up on. We could get through Super Tuesday, and maybe the establishment's propping up one guy that they're praying for. But
otherwise, it's a Trump and Cruz show, right?
Yeah, it really could be. And I mean,
seems to me, getting stuck with either one of them as a nominee is disaster for the Republican
It's a total
Party.
disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total disaster.
I think those are the only two candidates that definitely, not definitely lose to Hillary Clinton. Weird things can happen, and Trump, saying Trump's going to lose anything is like, it's playing against a guy in poker who's playing on tilt. You just don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes he hits that right card, and all of a sudden, draws the inside straight. But it's certainly not helpful, and there's certainly a lot of GOP operatives in the city who are working for other candidates who are not sleeping very well right now.
Right. And on the Democratic side, very close. Hillary with a 3-point lead in Iowa, Bernie with a 4-point lead in New Hampshire. Statistical tie, basically, in both states.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for a long time, that I thought Iowa was going to be closer than people were expecting. I think me and a lot of other people, that 2-week run where Hillary crushed at the Benghazi committee, had that really good performance. Biden decided not to run, and Hillary had that really good debate performance. We're all like, okay, it's over. And we kind of stopped paying attention.
Yeah,
and Iowans haven't. And it is a very populist state. It is a state where they really don't like anyone with connection to bankers on both sides. And I could see Bernie winning Iowa and New Hampshire. The question is, even if he does that, what happens? Because we go to these southern states, as I said earlier, and Nevada, where the biggest populations that matter are African-American and Hispanic populations, and he's not shown an ability yet in the polls to grow with them. And that's the big question. Now, they tend to be, lower information voters tend to make up their minds later. At this point, 8 years ago, we were still seeing Hillary beating Barack Obama with African-American voters. Clearly, that isn't how that worked out. But Bernie could really put a scare into her, and this is I don't think totally over yet, and it doesn't mean that he's got a serious shot at being the nominee, but that doesn't mean this isn't going to be a fun thing to cover over the next couple months.
Right, and it's amazing to me that with all of her experience and all of her money and all of her resources, and we know that she has put so much into Iowa because she doesn't want to lose Iowa again, right? And yet Bernie within striking distance. I mean, really. And he started, 50 points down or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I mean, this is one poll. Other polls have shown her with a bigger lead. And if you look at, this is the likely voter screen versus the right. And I, like everyone else, is waiting for Ann Selzer to come out with her Iowa poll, because that's the only one that's ever always accurate. And she in the Des Moines Register, and I think they're pairing with Bloomberg this time around. Like, that is the poll to watch. When that poll comes out, she's been within a point of the actual results of like every caucus, every primary for like 15 years.
Oh,
it's
wow.
insane. So, there's other polls, it's a plus or minus 5 to 10 points, but it shows that this race isn't over.
It gets more and more interesting every day. Cameron Joseph all over it. We'll be right back. Want to jump in? 866-55-PRESS. Now's your chance.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are 3 incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 27 minutes after the hour. Boy, we are just about out of time. But I got to ask you, I saw your story about Oregon. What's up with this Oregon standoff? I mean, it just goes on and everybody's kind of ignoring it.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's the best response. You know, flame needs oxygen, but the locals are being real cautious about it, and a lot of the locals don't like these guys. I mean, the Bundys are not from there. They're not part of the community. And this is one of those communities that doesn't love outsiders. Mm-hmm. But I was playing around with some data that I got from Resonate, which is this great data analytics firm, and they were just showing me, like, the map of, congressional map of, like, most and least pro or anti-NRA districts in the country. And they popped up like, the most pro-NRA districts in the country based upon like, what the people in the district search and their viewing habits and their web habits and everything. And like big bright red over that Oregon district.
Oh, really?
And it's one of the top 5 most pro-NRA districts in the country. So the Bundy folks certainly know how to pick them. And it's really interesting that this is an area that loves its guns and hates its government, and it's an area that a lot of ranchers and cowboys and a lot of government owning a lot of the land, and a lot of people are angry about it. So yeah, it makes sense why it's such an issue.
All right, Cameron Joseph from Mashable, Mashable.com. Thank you, Ben.
Is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, you bet it is the Bill Press Show at 33 minutes after the hour, Monday, January 11. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. And we're brought to you today by Amalgamated Bank. Yeah, a bank with progressive values. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Well, it's not. For nearly a century, Amalgamated has been the first choice bank of progressive organizations and individuals nationwide. Check them out, amalgamatedbank.com. You can do your banking and be a proud progressive at the same time. So good to see you all today. Thank you for joining us on the radio and on television, on your local progressive talk radio station, and on Free Speech TV nationwide. Matt Laszlo joins us now from the Daily Beast. Last time I saw him in the White House briefing room, where he actually had the awesome responsibility of being the print pooler, or not the wire service, or not the
it was print, yeah.
Print pooler. Print pooler for the whole day. Were you nervous?
I got to chase Obama.
I know.
It was my first time in the Oval Office, which is pretty
right?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And
I just wanted to take pictures the whole time.
They don't don't leave you in there very long, do they?
No, they don't. 4 minutes.
And when it's time to get out?
The Secret Service makes sure
There's
you
no
leave
doubt.
with nothing in your pockets.
You guys ever grease anything out of there, right? There's plenty of stuff you could just,
Oh, you don't get close to anything. Matt was going for the M&M, so.
Yeah, right.
I had the bust of MLK in my shirt, and they removed it.
So I'm asking all of the journalists today, the first question, what do you think about the fact that the prize for journalism in 2016 is definitely going to go to Sean Penn?
Oh, I know, right? I know. I'm glad you brought me on to talk about El Chapo. This is the greatest story of all time.
It's crazy, right?
It's like grenade launchers, guys running through sewers. Now actors and Hollywood's involved. This just gets better.
Yeah. How was he able to score this? Or Rolling Stone able to score it?
I don't know. I guess Sean Penn's a lot more trusted than the media.
Like my understanding is there's I forget the woman's name now, but
Yes,
apparently
this
she's
actress.
very well known in Mexico. This actress said all
Who
this
has a El Chapo connection, and somehow
she's
she
a supporter. She's like a full-on free El Chapo
and
type.
She has a connection to, or somehow Sean Penn saw that, got in touch with her. She arranged the interview.
And I guess El Chapo is just loved in his district down there, or in his state. What, there's stories of helicopters going around and throwing out cash to people. I want that here. I would so much more support Eleanor Holmes Norton if she did that.
Right?
Ahead of her campaign.
Just cash drops.
But I was also reading that that Sean Penn, on one of his flights, he was told that it was safe for them to fly because they had informers who would tell them when the government was not watching. So they knew when it was safe to kind of move in. I mean, it's
amazing.
You watch. He's going to be out again.
Really?
Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
He'll figure something out. Although if he's being extradited here to America.
That's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
It's going to take at least a year.
Yeah.
He's got to, that's time. That's enough time to build that tunnel. Yeah. No doubt about it. God, man, so much to talk about. You have been. Why are you picking on Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
I don't know. My editor told me to. I only do what my editors tell me to do.
Your story, which I read last night, and I thought, oh my God, what a story! And then I realized you were the one who wrote it. Queen of the Dems faces palace coup.
And for some reason, her press secretary asked me not to do the story.
Really? That seems weird.
What's the beef about Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
So she's really angered the progressive wing of the party, mainly Bernie Sanders supporters. But she did this New York Times interview, and she called young millennial women complacent when it comes to abortion issues, which obviously progressives and millennial women did not like. So this one progressive group started a petition. I think it's now the third petition for her to resign as the head of the DNC. So she's not too happy right now, at least with the Bernie people.
And the Bernie people are not happy with her, as well as the O'Malley people, mainly over the debate schedule.
Who's
correct?
O'Malley?
Oh, the O'Malley person. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
O'Malley who?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, Martin O'Malley?
Not
America's
happy,
Putin.
not happy over the debate schedule. The latest of which is this Sunday night, the Sunday of Martin Luther King weekend, is a Democratic debate.
Wait, there's a debate this Sunday? See, I don't even know this, and I'm a political reporter.
Yes.
I literally have no idea.
Yes,
MLK weekend.
MLK weekend.
Sunday night.
Yeah, and the last one, of course, was on the Saturday night before Christmas, wasn't it?
Saturday before Christmas.
Yes.
I was at a holiday party in someone's bedroom, live tweeting that debate, and these are like political people, and no one cared. I was there alone.
But so, like, here's the thing, right? Like, the debates thing, I know that Debbie Wasserman Schultz and being the head of the DNC is a big job, right? But, like, the job title essentially is, you help raise money, but you also, like, spread the gospel of the Democratic Party, right? Like, that's what Reince Priebus does for the RNC. You see him on TV all the time. He helps lead the fights that they have with NBC.
With Trump.
Trump, but like he's sort of that face. He's out there trying to make Republicans look as good as they can, right? And Debbie Wasserman Schultz, especially with these debates, is not doing a very good job of representing the Democratic Party. Like, if you want to get these faces out there and sell the American people on Democratic ideas, burying them is a terrible idea. It's awful.
I like her in general as a person and as chair. But the debate thing is indefensible. I mean, I think O'Malley and Bernie Sanders are correct. She buried them, which hurts the entire. She buried them to help Hillary Clinton, which I think is stupid because Hillary Clinton doesn't need any help in the debate. Yeah. She's brilliant in the debate.
She's great. Yeah.
Every one she does well. So the more people that see her, the better, as opposed to what the party seems to have done. And the other thing is that, as Martin O'Malley makes this argument, the Republicans have all these debates and all these chances to preach their message, and the Democrats are not competing at the same level because they don't have as many debates, and they're at these crazy times when nobody's watching.
And then pardon me, it's early. The biggest risk for Wasserman Schultz and the Democrats is the most energetic part of the party right now is Sanders supporters. If you watch a Sanders rally versus a Clinton rally, it's just so evident that that's where the energy is, and she's tamping down the most energetic part of her party, which she needs to win against whoever the Republican is going to be.
Speaking of Senator Sanders and Hillary Clinton, she and a little one years because they've been very good to each other. I mean, there's clearly differences, but they've gone out of their way not to attack each other. Yesterday, Jamie, if we've got that, Hillary was talking about. The issue was raised about Bernie Sanders' position on guns, particularly, and you've written about this, lawsuits against gun manufacturers. She says, we don't know where Bernie is on this issue. Here she is.
I think he has been consistently refusing to say that he would vote to repeal this absolute immunity from any kind of responsibility or liability. He often says, well, look, I'm from Vermont, and, that's different. It's not like being in New York City. Well, in fact, the other senator from Vermont, Senator Leahy, voted with President Obama and myself.
Is this going to hurt Bernie?
Well, so Bernie's been so blindsided by this issue and anything with foreign policy. I mean, Bernie's great when he's railing on Wall Street. He's the anti-Wall Street candidate, and that's his whole campaign platform. So when anything else comes up, guns, it just blindsides. I mean, it took him a couple weeks.
He had. I know how he voted. I thought he had walked it back and said that he would probably. There was some flaw in that law that he would probably vote for this today.
Probably,
in other words, to take immunity away from gun manufacturers.
But honestly, it's so funny to hear this debate because it's not going to pass through Congress. So Hillary Clinton can say whatever she wants, and every executive order that could be done has been done. Remember, after Newtown, President Obama signed 23 executive orders. So to me, I mean, she's found a wedge issue between her and Sanders. You could almost argue he was beating her when it came to the economic argument, and hence the progressive wing of the party is really energized and out there for him. But she found a wedge issue that progressives mostly side with her on this, and probably the bulk of the Democratic Party, not even progressives, side with her on this. So she's going to keep shedding the light
she's
on
gonna stay,
Bernie.
She's gonna sit on that. Yeah.
I mean, I follow this pretty closely. I thought for sure that if not Bernie himself, then Michael Briggs, his press secretary, had said, Bernie has already said, that was a mistake, and he wouldn't vote that way in the future. Now,
and the poor guy has tried to walk it back, but with no debates, without him ever having it, we don't hear it.
Like, I'd love for this to be an issue to come up in a debate that someone watches.
All right, well, then now let's get to the real issue. Let's get to the issue that is going to decide this primary, and that is Bill Clinton's sex life.
I thought you were going to say El Chapo.
At least if you believe Donald Trump. Matt Laszlo here with us from Daily Beast, public radio reporter as well. 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation when we come back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple and they add up and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that would be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. And like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour with Matt Laszlo here from Daily Beast and the rest of our Bill Press team. Good to have you with us. So, Matt, Donald Trump, he kept that birther card in his back pocket until he thought it was time he better play it against Ted Cruz last week. And he was also keeping, I guess, in his other back pocket this infidelity card against Bill Clinton, which he decided last week was the time to play it against Hillary Clinton, saying basically she can't be trusted because Bill cheated, if you follow that logic. Hillary's response, I thought, was classic and actually right on target.
If he wants to engage in personal attacks from the past, that's his prerogative, so be it. It's been fair game going back to the Republicans for some years. They can do it again if they want to. That can be their choice as to how to run in this campaign. Didn't work before, it won't work again. They can say whatever they want, right. More power to them.
Is it fair? Will it work?
Well, I think a lot of young voters don't even know what he's talking about. Right? I mean, that was ages ago.
Yeah.
Monica Lewinsky. And I think
it was
beating a dead horse.
So it was 1996.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking 20 years.
And political time?
Today's voters, the young voters today weren't even born.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to make a decision based on something that happened 20 years ago.
And then, but everyone's already decided on this.
And also,
if you're an older Republican, you hate Bill Clinton anyway.
Right.
And you hate Hillary anyway.
Right.
So,
I mean, this country that's been through the wash, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Like, your mind is either made up or you just don't care.
Yeah.
That's where everybody is.
And they've tried this before. I mean, it hasn't worked in the past.
Can you imagine?
It hasn't worked in the past. They tried it against him.
But I don't think voters even care about infidelity.
I was going to say, like, can you imagine a 19-year-old voter who's hearing this for the first time? I mean, I declare there's no way I could vote for her anymore.
Well, wait.
My good Lord in heaven.
Yeah, but wait, may I also point out, the sins were not such as they were not committed by her. They were committed by him.
Right. And committed against her.
Right.
Yes.
She was the wife.
Right.
Yeah.
If anything, she should be bringing it up.
Yeah. Right.
What has Bill done for me lately?
That scoundrel, right? Yeah, no, I just don't get this. And it's interesting, other than Peter mentioned, Rand Paul kind of hinted he was going to get into this early on, then dropped it. But nobody else is picking this up. It's basically a Donald Trump attack.
And this is coming from Trump, who I don't think is the most faithful or...
Come on.
He's not a role model when it comes to...
relationships.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about here?
No.
Doesn't he want to date his daughter or something?
What?
Yeah.
Yes, he did say that. No, when you go, if you went to a marriage counselor today and they were saying, now you ought to follow the lead of this outstanding married man here. He's your role model. He's the poster boy. I don't think it would be Donald Trump. Right?
I know. Oh, man. When are you bringing Trump on the show?
Oh.
Come on, that would be fun.
No.
Has to be in studio. No phoners.
See, that's our rule is it has to be in studio.
Oh,
and,
that's it.
And therefore...
Not going to happen. No. It'd be fun. I'd wake up early to tune in.
All right. Put it this way. When it happens, all right, we'll let you know.
Can I come in too?
Yes, you can come in too. All right.
Thanks, Dad.
Now, what are the chances that, or do you think there's any chance that Donald Trump will be the nominee?
American voters terrify me. Let me just put it that way. I mean, we have one guy in the House now who was a real world star. Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
So I don't trust American voters. I wrote a chapter in a book on Sarah Palin, and I called it The New Era of Pop Politics. So I think we're there. We like popular politicians, and I guess I can see people voting in a reality star. I don't trust the American electorate.
I know.
It's
I
sad.
know. I keep saying that. I keep thinking that.
So what you're saying is there is a chance.
There's a chance. None of us. Trump's still on top. I think more likely would be Cruz. My money's on Rubio. I think he just has broader appeal within the Republican Party. But I see Cruz right now winning Iowa, and then with what they're calling the SEC primary, with all these southern states kind of voting in block together earlier on. I think that's Cruz country. So I think he could do very well in the evangelical South. And then I would see that becoming another Barry Goldwater. I don't think Cruz would win one or two states.
I can't imagine what states he would win.
Yeah.
I have to say,
the party would be shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
I'm the last person
with Cruz's gun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm the last person that the Republican Party calls for advice or counsel or whatever. But I think they're better off with Trump than they are with Cruz.
Interesting. But Trump,
I think both of them are losers, and they would lose House and Senate and everything. But Cruz is just.
But I think they really lose independence with Cruz.
Yes.
Oh, do you want to hear a funny anecdote? So,
all right, real quick.
Cruz had a press conference on the Hill about this new legislation banning Syrians from entering Texas and other things. So I get kind of fed up, and I ask the last question. And I go, Senator Cruz, with Canada taking in about 20, 30,000 Syrians, do you have a plan to to seal the northern border? Stunned silence from him. I really stumped him. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh,
from
good for you.
Your home country, by the way.
Yeah. He said, yeah, don't mess with Canada.
Yeah, right.
All right. Hey, Matt, you're having too much fun. Thanks so much for coming in. All right.
My pleasure.
All right. Great to see you. I'll be back with today's quick parting shot.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yep, maybe you've heard, less than a month to the Iowa caucuses and New Hampshire primary. And according to the very latest NBC Wall Street Journal poll, This race is getting more and more lively on both sides and closer. Among Republican likely voters, it's nip and tuck between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. In Iowa, Cruz holds a 4-point advantage over Trump, 28-24. And up in New Hampshire, Trump is running away with it, a 16-point lead over Marco Rubio. On the Democratic side, in Iowa, Hillary Clinton now holds only a slim 3-point lead over Bernie Sanders. And in New Hampshire, Bernie has the edge, 4 points over Hillary. Basically a statistical tie. So anybody who tells you that right today they know who the nominee of either party is going to be doesn't know what they're talking about. That's it for today, folks. Come back tomorrow.
This
we'll be looking
is
for
the
you.
Bill Press Show.